because it was mean. Just, you know.
I kept them with me, babe. I put them with my own. Can't make it all alone. I built my dreams around you. The boys of the NYPD chorus still singing Go Away Babe. And the bells are ringing out for Christmas Day.
I'm really disappointed in myself that I didn't Peter cut you off before I was riveted in the story of you being hostage from going upstairs by a dog named Prissy.
I mean, I was like 3, but yes.
I'd like to just in my head, can I imagine that it's you now? Can I just
Sure.
And can the dog be about 19 pounds?
I think it was probably about 25, but yeah.
That's awesome. We are back here off day. It's a special Christmas edition. So those of you who are jumping on late, you got to go back and listen to the opening credit song for today. Andy, that's your favorite Christmas song, right?
It is, and I forced my daughter to listen to it yesterday when we came back from dinner, and she was offended by the line you would think she would be offended by, because she's 20.
Because she's 20 and in 2025 and doesn't know nuance or context.
I just explained to her as a bundle of sticks, and she was fine.
Right. It's funny because I feel like I'm at least changing perceptions of how we judge pop culture. My Film One kids' final is to study and teach me a film made between 1970 and 1989. And so a couple of them did Airplane. So obviously they've got to learn to be okay with jokes that maybe you wouldn't tell now, but doesn't make them any less funny. But
I mean, those kids probably just wanted to see boobies.
Did you know that movie's still rated PG? I didn't realize that movie was rated PG.
There was no PG-13 at that point in the world.
I know. I thought it would have been an R. In my head, it's been R.
As I recall back then, kids, you missed out. You got like 2 free booby shots for a PG. If it went to 3 was an R.
Oh my God.
So if you go back and look at like Turkey, which is a similar time frame, that had 3+, and that of course would be an R.
I just literally spit-taked coffee up my nose.
Well, it's like the rules now. You get one F-bomb.
One non-sexual fuck is what you get now.
And anything more than that makes it an R. Beyond that, it's a PG-13.
I'm making sure I put 2 free boobies in the episode description. That'll get the review. That'll get views right there. But yeah, so talk to me about why the Pogue song is your favorite Christmas song.
I mean, it's just evocative of the season. It has the forlornness that some of that is not a word, but the forlorn feeling that some of us feel around the holidays, the joyous part of feeling the holidays, the idea of carrying dreams with somebody and getting through. And the music is great. The Pogues are great.
The Pogues are very underrated for that, particularly for the era.
Yeah. So it's just, and I'm gonna contradict myself here, because if you've been following me online the last couple of days, I made quite the stir on the Blue Sky by declaring that Hallelujah by Leonard Cohen is not a Christmas song. Oh. And just to be clear, people agree with me, but the things that I get that I post that get clicks are few and far in between, and that was one of them. So I was, when you get 1,000 likes on something, I did not get ratioed on that. But that also, I guess, is evocative, and it doesn't really matter what the words are. For this, to me, this is 2 people going through different stages of their life, a guy in jail, a couple talking about, why they should still be together, but was all done in the framework of Christmas. Hallelujah has nothing to do with Christmas. Does it mention Christmas? Does it mention December? You could be singing it in July and it wouldn't make a difference.
Right. Beyond the fact that my favorite was the person who tried to argue with you and say it was a song about loving Jesus, when clearly it's about obsession over a woman he doesn't have. Like
I thought somebody put it perfectly. It was about two angry Jews having sex. In honor of your hat, that seems appropriate.
Yeah, so I am wearing my Team Israel hat to celebrate Hanukkah. I did a Walking with Orbit in my Hanukkah sweater. I love Hanukkah as much as I love Christmas. Maybe not as much as I love Christmas, but I love Hanukkah, and I love I have so many people in my life that celebrate that I love very much, and some of whom I even like a whole heck of a lot. And I've been doing a lot of research on my own genealogy and learning a little bit about my family's connection to Judaism, including basically converting to Catholicism to help them escape Germany at the beginning of the 1930s, some of them. So, definitely wanted to rep the Team Israel. Our friend Jess Canaster, friend of the show, among others. Yay.
Career minor league administrative man.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's hit now. He's now career. I mean, and if you know Jess, hey, he loves baseball and particularly the minor leagues more than just about anybody I know. And there was a period of time during the pandemic when the team that had literally just hired him folded. And so he had to work another job, which I think probably, if I know about minor league, probably paid him more. And
yeah, honestly, 100%.
But he was miserable. So he's with the Iron Pigs now, and he's happy. He's got a kid. So happy Hanukkah to you guys.
There's no truth to the rumor that he took a baseball to that other job and wrote "For Love of the Game" and handed it to the owner on his resignation.
That was such a baller move. I want to do that. That'd be so cool.
You talk about what your future plans are. Maybe this is how you don't sign the contract, or maybe you sign the contract with "For Love of the Game."
Oh. Jessica just rolled her eyes. I think she's watching. She's great. Yes.
Did you hear the groan from the other part of the house?
Luckily right now I'm 10 miles from the house. So hi honey. Thanks for watching.
Well, then I'm glad you didn't hear the groan, because it'd be quite the groan.
It would be quite the groan. It's a great song. By the way, how long has it been since you've watched the video for the song?
I don't know, 15 minutes ago.
Okay. Young Matt Dillon in the video. And I brought up my film students, and a couple of them, two takeaways from the movies they taught. One, they talked about The Outsiders and just how hot Matt Dillon was back in the day. But my favorite was one of my freshman girls. She literally ended her lesson on Dirty Dancing by saying, "I know the movie's basically about statutory rape, but Patrick Swayze's hot, so that's okay."
Matt Dillon is, I think, criminally underrated. And
Very.
I know there's an entire generation of people who think he is the character from Something About Mary with the veneers, and that was actually his teeth. That wasn't him.
Yeah.
But you look back at things like The Outsiders, like Drugstore Cowboy, Over the Edge, My Bodyguard, which is a fantastic. I mean, that was
he was our generation's James Dean more than anybody else was. He was.
I mean, even Wild Things, which came out the same year as Something About Mary, you couldn't ask for two vastly different roles.
Yeah.
Because sexual predator. Well, I guess they were both sexual predators. So never mind. Excuse that.
There you go. All right. And we're done. Hey, but big, this is the weirdest transition ever. For the first time ever.
Singles is a very underrated.
Singles is the best Cameron Crowe film nobody talks about.
Yes.
Eddie Vedder's good in that movie. Yeah, Eddie Vedder. Yeah.
I had a massive crush on Bridget Fonda for a number of years just because of that movie.
Yeah. Yeah. Cameron Crowe is one of my guys. Like we talked about Rob Reiner last episode. And that's definitely one of my movies when it comes to him. But a little sports stuff, Andy, for the first time, Texas A&M volleyball basically just swept their way to be playing for the national championship this weekend. Is this the part where, first of all, how fired up is Aggie Nation? And second of all, does it bum you out that not everybody's as fired up for this game as they should be for the football game? This is as big a deal as playing in the playoffs for football this weekend, in my opinion.
Well, it's bigger because the football team has to win 4 games. at this point to have a national championship. Volleyball has to win one, and it's uncharted territory. And regardless of the people who are about to jump on and say, it's been since before World War II since you won a national championship, A&M football has won a national championship before. A&M volleyball has not. So anytime you can be the first to do something, that's a big deal. Anytime you can win a national championship in a highly competitive sport that has, just a handful of great teams that were all in the field. You talk Kentucky, who we have to play on Sunday. You talk Wisconsin. You talk Texas, Nebraska. I'm probably forgetting a couple of others, but there are dominant teams in this field, in this sport. And for A&M to be one of those in Jamie Morrison's, the coach's third season, he took this team that was moribund, and I'm being kind, as a program, and has completely turned it around, making the tournament last year, losing eventually to Wisconsin, I believe, last year. And then now 3 sets away. Yeah. And it's been a giant turnaround. And of course, in true A&M fashion, the people who are paying attention to this are worried now that somebody's going to poach Jamie Morrison, because let me tell you something. If we want to keep Jamie Morrison and he wants to say that money's not going to be an issue, Nebraska, I think, has the highest paid volleyball coach, and he makes $800,000 a year.
Yeah, you're not going to have a problem.
And I hate to be this kind of fan for my school, but we literally have that in couch cushions.
Exactly. 100%. And you also, to me, you're really well positioned at A&M, being so close to Houston, because much like every other sport, Texas leads the way with talent. Some of the best volleyball talent plays high school volleyball in the state of Texas. We had Jeremy on our show, and I mean, he's talking about the talent he's able to get, and he's how far low that totem pole of getting recruits.
Yeah, you talk about all of the club sports and the highly competitive club teams that are centered around Harris County area, the Austin area, the Dallas area. Those are all prime recruiting grounds for A&M and Texas. So it's, I think it's hopefully just the beginning of something that goes on for a while, of being at the top of what I think should be a growing sport from a television standpoint. As we've talked about, ESPN and those types of channels, those type of networks need live programming. Yeah. And I think they're starting to come around to the idea that volleyball is a very nice, neat 90-minute segment that you can plug in anywhere. And once people turn it on, they will keep watching it because it's compelling. It's a compelling sport that's constantly moving, with top-level athletes. And it's just really, really, really exciting. And again, I've made this comment before, but if you only watch during the Olympics and you remember how fascinated you are by the sport during the Olympics, whether it's men's or women's volleyball, watch the NCAAs. Watch it on Sunday. It's going to be on ABC, I believe, just like the regional games were, which is a big deal. Have it on a national broadcast network. So I'm happy that TV's coming around to it. I'm happy that A&M fans are coming around to it. I know some of us like to pretend that we are, best fan base and blah, 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 blah. We tend to ignore things that don't go well, unless it's football, and then we bitch and moan about it. But the rest of the sports just kind of go by the wayside if they're not competing at a high level. This is a program.
That's not unnatural, because we're already losing interest in men's basketball over here.
Well, I mean, that's a whole different topic. But yeah, I don't think it's unique to A&M. I just think that we like to portray ourselves as a certain level of fandom. And I think with football, maybe that's kind of true. When it comes to some of the other sports on campus, though, it's a lot of redheaded stepchildren type of stuff, unless they're doing well. And then all of a sudden we're all the biggest fans in the world.
Yeah.
I hope for anything that my school competes in, that we compete at the highest level, but especially with women's sports that deserve recognition, that deserve eyeballs, and deserve your time and attention. I hope it continues.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this before, and I do think also one of the things that when we talk about, and it's more my axe to grind than yours, about the t-shirt fan thing, this is really where it shows up, because alums of the school who care about the academic rating, also care about what every sport's doing when those sports are playing. And so I think,
and I think we could have a whole philosophical conversation about why academics don't like football and the sports mechanisms that fund so many things on campus. And I get it to some extent. But if you want to talk truly about student athletes, and yes, I know there are players who receive NIL on the volleyball team and the women's basketball team. Women's sports are still student athletes. Very few of them have any hope or even arena to go compete after college. If you talk about every school that has a women's volleyball team in the NCAA at every level, that gets whittled down to, I think they can play in Europe. I think there are volleyball leagues.
And if they go play for Team USA.
Or the U.S. national team in the Olympics, and that's 17 women.
And that's still amateur sports. They're not necessarily going pro. Yeah, I mean, these are definitely and I think one of the things that I noticed long ago is I think that female athletes, and I know we're making generalities here, but still, in my opinion, compete the right way. I think watch a softball dugout, and there's not a more united team thing going on. They're not out there for themselves. It's still about team. Watching some of the lady Longhorn volleyball players congratulating A&M on Twitter because they've all know each other. I mean, there's a different it's a different vibe, and I think it's a better vibe, particularly for what the world is like in 2025.
I was heartened though, because I was looking at Twitter quickly this morning, and I can't remember who it was, but a Texas fan was giving A&M props and basically saying that, this team is for real. And of course, it reminded me, one of the comments reminded me of the groundskeepers in Major League, because the media is like, yeah, they still suck, which is great. I expect nothing less from the rivalry. But those Japanese groundskeepers,
they're still shitty.
They're still shitty.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I mean, I'll be rooting for him for sure. Plus, the show's a lot more fun when our teams are winning.
And I mean, and individually, there's some great stories. Lednicki, Kendall Stowers, especially. Kendall Stowers was medically retired 2 years ago from Baylor. And I know if you've watched the games, she's the woman that has the Q collar, the thing wrapped around her neck. That's to prevent blood flow or reduce blood flow going to her brain to prevent concussions.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Which I think tight end that used to play for the Cowboys, plays for the Texans now, Dalton Schultz. He also wears one of those on the field because of a history of concussions. So it helps with keeping a cushion level there. Reduces blood flow from leaving the brain, I think is the way I should say that. We all need blood flow in our brain.
I've heard that's good.
Yes.
Yeah. One of the things that I think ESPN made a really smart decision too is one of the Texas dads. He gets really hyped up when his kid's playing, and so they mic'd him up for the broadcast. And it's so nice to me to see this big burly dad who's probably would have been as just as home watching his son play football. You put the same level of energy, because much like a baseball parent, a volleyball parent's spending entire weekends in gyms watching games. Like,
I have
baseball, lacrosse, volleyball parents. They're a special level of awesome.
I have some friends that my kids grew up with in that life, and it's not just weekends. It's, your family trips in the summer are planned around what tournament you can go to and what club sport you're going to be playing. It is all encompassing, and it is a huge investment of both time and money and every other resource that parents have to put these kids in position. And while I think, things like travel baseball have some negative things to them, there's also the positive side. It is, when it's done well, these are things that families do together, and the memories that they build, you can't duplicate any other way. Yeah. You can't duplicate it. And I would love to just sit around the couch watching movies with my kids, but there's something about watching your child compete and do well that just, that whole pride thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pride in children.
Well, we do have to move on to the story of the Texas Longhorns. I definitely want your take on Texas surprisingly parting ways with Pete Kwiatkowski. I've seen different reports of it. Some of it's fired, some of it's whatever. I think a couple of things that I've seen come out is that Sark has long been frustrated with the style of defense, the break bend, don't break style.
Mm-hmm.
I also think they went from 7th in pass defense to 101st. And if you look at 3 of the losses, any modicum of defensive showing up maybe change those outcomes, including the Georgia game. Because remember, that game at one point was a 6-point deficit.
Sure.
And then it was.
You were in that game midway through the third quarter. I mean,
so I don't know that I don't love the move. I wouldn't have made the move. I do have obviously fond memories of Will Muschamp being here. I think people are going to conflate his failure as a head coach with him no longer being a good defensive coordinator. I think Kirby Smart would disagree with that, but it does feel like, Andy, at a minimum, this feels like Arch has one more year left. We're going to go all in on what it takes to win a national championship. And I almost would prefer that behavior than what I think we're seeing from our baseball team of we don't got to do a whole lot because everybody was injured, but everybody will be fine, and then we'll be fine.
Specifically, we're talking about the Astros, not the Texas Longhorns baseball team.
Yes, the Astros baseball. Sorry.
Whole different thing. So I'm going to play devil's advocate, I guess, here for a little bit because it's a head scratcher for me. And I can tell you that from what I've gathered from the social medias, all the rival fan bases are very happy about the move you just made because Pete K is a very well-regarded coach.
Yes.
I think the way I've come down on it, I don't think he was fired. I think it was just we're not renewing your contract, which is semantics, but it's not you're doing so horribly, we're getting out of this situation. It's a parting of ways. I think
and if he gets hired by USC tomorrow, then that actually answers a lot of the questions.
Well,
too.
I think Pete very much wants to go back to the Pacific Coast. I think ideally, if he could get back up to the Pacific Northwest to a Washington or Oregon, that would be ideal. But yeah, USC probably fits that bill for him as well. Style-wise, Sark knew what he was getting, I guess, but Pete also wasn't his first choice when he signed his initial contract. The first call evidently was to Will Muschamp, and Will wasn't going to go and was headed towards retirement. And so that's why I get kind of trepidatious if I'm a Longhorn fan, because there's a couple of things. Will Muschamp was an elite defensive coordinator for most of his career, but he hasn't been a defensive coordinator for 10 years.
Well, did he not have the DC title in Georgia at least? 3
years ago. And then he was moved to an analyst role. And then he was let go prior to this season. So
I read that he wanted to move to the analyst role for family reasons.
Perhaps, but he wasn't calling plays in the role at Georgia. It was a title to justify a salary to get him to move, which is fine. He wanted to be there anyway. I would be concerned about how the game may have progressed in the 10 years where he was the sole defensive decision maker to now. That to me is the risk. The other gamble, as you put it, is even in the last 3 seasons, kids have changed that are going to be playing for your program. And I don't know that Coach Boom plays as well as he did in 2009 when he was in Austin. I think kids were different. I think kids were willing to be yelled at. I think kids were willing to be coached. I don't know enough about your roster to know that you have those kind of kids or not, but that's a big adjustment because Kotowski was not an in-your-face kind of coach. He was, I'm sure he got fiery about some things, but he was not the images you can pull up right now of Will Muschamp in a number of different uniforms.
Coach Blood.
Yeah. And so maybe it works out, and it very well could, but how long is the adjustment period? Does he get the guys that he needs to run his style of defense? Because I don't know that he has that. Do you answer the questions that you have in the secondary? Because, you mentioned the drop to 110 in pass defense. That to me had a lot more to do with talent than it did with scheme, because you had an all-world defensive backfield 2 seasons ago, and they all went to the NFL, and you had less than that. The young guys, not untalented, but young guys. So do you have the personnel? Is Muschamp willing to be flexible with what he does, with what he's going to have, whatever that roster looks like in a couple of months? That to me would be the concern if I was a Longhorn fan. It's a name, and that's a big deal, and he certainly has the skins on the wall. It's just can he do it in 2026?
We have a comment. William Chandler pointing out, he's an ARF screenwriter, pointing out that tough Manning run to the championship. Yeah, any run to the national championship is going to be difficult. I'm very torn on the idea. Like, I would not have made it. Like, I would not have made the move. I'm just looking for, but the move is made. So now it's like, okay, what are the positives to take from it? We talked on this show how we found some of the lack of aggression on defense this past season perplexing. Mm-hmm. Playing 10 yards off, like your whole thing is you're rushing the passer, so you're trying to make the quarterback make quick decisions. Where you're making those quick decisions easier for them by playing 10 yards off. So that also was a Dwayne Aquina problem, probably, which was also a guy. I don't love a retread anyway. Sometimes, like, what I'm suspecting happened is that Muschamp has realized I'm not a head coach. I like coordinating defense. The Georgia message boards are apparently not happy with the move, which I guess says something as well about their value they place on him. Obviously, I don't know. But it at least feels like to me, Sark is not resting on laurels when it's coming to try to improve the team. And
so I did have another question that pops up on this, because as I'm reading through comments and things, one of the items that is being viewed as a potential positive is that somehow Blake Gideon's going to come back and coach your secondary. Now, as just a neutral party.
Jessica, by the way, that's the low point of our marriage, when Blake Gideon dropped that interception against Texas Tech, and she didn't know that he dropped it, and I had to calm her down to let her know that no, we had not just beaten Tech. And then Crabtree happens the next play. So she's having a moment in our house right now.
I understand. But what world, explain this to me like I'm 5 years old, what world does Blake Gideon leave Georgia Tech as the sole play caller, defensive coordinator, to come be at best an assistant defensive coordinator and really just a secondary coach just because it's his alma mater?
Let me take off this hat. I'm going to take off this hat and I'm going to put on a tin foil.
And I know everybody wants to work for the Texas Longhorns.
I've took off my Team Israel baseball hat and I've put on a tin foil hat that says that Coach Boom is going back to being coach in waiting.
Okay. Well, they didn't say how long he had to wait.
And then Blake Gideon will be DC in waiting.
Let's say it did. They never told Muschamp how long he would have to wait.
They never did. And no, I like that is interesting. And I don't know if going back and being a position coach at an SEC school puts you on a different path to get a better defensive coordinator job later. I don't know how that all works. I don't know if they're able to money whip him to do it. I don't know that I care. Like, I don't know that I want him. Like, I guess he's a fine defensive backs coach, but
I'm almost more curious as to where it came from, because it feels like just some fans decided, well, he used to be here and he could come back, and he likes Muschamp and Muschamp likes him. So
he's got the right skin tone for burnt orange, and not everybody does. Not everybody does. Well, like, obviously, of all the moves, and there's been talk of Texas having the inside track for the Florida running back because, of course, it's all, what do you call it? It's like math about Texas getting the running back coach from Florida, but definitely that was not a move I expected to see.
No, that's the college football I remember, where you hired the kid's high school coach so he'd come sign with you, and then you fire him immediately. Yeah.
The other thing too, I will say this, Andy, you did talk personnel, and apparently Pete Kwiatkowski is uninterested in recruiting.
Sure.
And I've read that from a lot of places, and Muschamp was a good recruiter. Now, to your point, is he a good recruiter in 2025 when kids are soft?
Kids are soft, and you're not recruiting the kids.
This high school sophomore I teach, he is soft. He just can't. He's actually
SAWFT.
Oh, soft. Yeah. He's actually sitting across the monitor for me. He's actually here early to go help me out, so I shouldn't call him soft in front of our fives of viewers. But
hey, we got 11 people watching right now.
Hey, shout out to Kanan, the opposite of soft. No, I think it'll
not confused with West Canaan. home of the Coyotes.
No, he has no idea. He probably doesn't even know who the West Canaan Coyotes are. That's because I failed as a film teacher. Or by not teaching him that movie,
would like to correct him.
Right. But maybe by not teaching him that movie, I've actually succeeded as a film teacher.
Perhaps.
These are sometimes it's not what you teach, it's what you don't that matters. We got a couple more things to get to before we're done, but Aggie football, Miami. I actually think this is going to be not close. I think Aggie wins going away. I think College Station. I don't know that I see Texas A&M making a run the national championship. I do think they win this first game.
No, I don't think we're constructed to win. I mean, things can happen. A team can get hot at the right time. Sure. I don't think the way the bracket is constructed and where we're placed, that winning Saturday, if that happens, means anything going forward, because potentially you'll have Georgia next, and then after that you potentially have Ohio State, or it's just you're running through the best defenses in college. Yes. And I don't know that we have the offensive firepower to do that. I keep going back and forth on this, and some of it is certainly Batter Aggie syndrome. Some of it is just being realistic. If Le'Veon Moss plays, gets 10 carries, and is somewhat productive, I think we win. I think the bigger differentiation between these two teams is going to be where they play. We tend to play better at home. Miami tends to play worse on the road. That has been true of Carson Beck's career as well at Georgia and in Miami. So that's the advantage that we earned for this first round. And I think that the 12th man, I think Kyle Field will be ready to play. But it's just the things that Miami does well, we don't necessarily match up with well. So I don't know that it's going to be, a 3-possession win or anything like that. I think it's going to be close within a score. But I hate saying this out loud, that, we probably prevail tomorrow, but I don't know that there's an outcome outside of one of these teams just getting blown out that would surprise me. And I think the key really is Carson Beck and his ability to perform on the road, and their defense's ability to perform on the road. Similar to what Texas faced a little bit this year, they play a different style of defense on the road than they do at home.
Maybe that's why they fired the defensive coordinator.
I mean, you can look. Get back on that topic for a second. You can look and see the failings that Katowski had this past season. I really think most of that was the youth that you guys were trying to mix in on your roster, more than anything a coach did or didn't do. But at some point, you can't fire 105 kids unless you're Deion Sanders, and then you absolutely can.
By the way, Jessica, just like she chimed in about the Blake Gidding talk, that yes, she was dying. So, I mean, it really was like, not only, I just got to go back to that story. So I had to calm her down, and then Crabtree makes the catch, which really and truly wasn't a great catch. There were 3 missed tackles, I think one by Blake Gideon, by the way, for that touchdown. And then Jessica went to a Halloween party, and Andy, I went to bed completely dressed from shoes to ball cap and woke up 8 hours later. Like, I was not having it. But sorry, back to your prediction for tomorrow. You think A&M wins, but you don't think it's a blowout.
I 3 or 4 points. It's a possession game.
Yeah. And it's probably going to be a good game, and it's going to be the best game of the day, and no one will watch it because it's at 11.
It'll be at 11 o'clock in the morning. Well, I mean, whatever crappy Saturday NFL matchup is bumping all college football after 2:30 is.
Yeah, I think they have to figure something like that out. I mean, if college football really and truly is becoming the minor leagues of the NFL, then they have to recognize that it's in their best interest to not squash that partnership. But
I mean, even if you were to say, hey, yes, have the primetime window NFL, and yes, the NFL would have to bequeath them this time, because there's no benefit to the NFL for being nice. They don't have to be. They're the 800-pound gorilla.
Yeah.
But it would be nice if the NFL could figure out that, hey, this is your development team. These are your development teams. Giving them a primetime spot, or even just the 2:30 spots on those days. Not playing an afternoon game, but doing a Saturday night game. So there's no conflict if that's what you're worried about. That would be better. Because rightfully so, ESPN is scared to death of counter-programming the NFL. because it doesn't work. It doesn't work no matter how bad that NFL game is.
Yeah, it blows my mind. Like Jess and I were talking about this after our last episode about it blows my mind that people would rather watch two bad NFL teams play versus a college football playoff game. But you're right, they would.
It is what it is, and maybe college football should look at why that is.
Yeah,
maybe compelling matchups like Ole Miss and Tulane are not it.
Well, we're going to wrap this up by I'm sharing with you my Christmas present to you. Now, let me before we get into this, you and I both big fans of SEC shorts, and Josh Snead had a cameo thing. So I just want to tell you the prompt that I gave him was we both.
Yeah, I was curious about this part.
Yeah. So the prompt purely, I mean, honestly, Andy, the prompt was 15 words. Okay. The prompt was you and I both do a show. We're both graduates of our said universities. And I wanted to tell him that I was asking Santa for a World Series win for the Astros. And then I'm asking for the sarcastic gift that maybe you'll score more than 2 offensive touchdowns against Texas next year. What he did with that 2.5 minutes, I was 1, delighted with it, and 2, completely turned it on me, which I was very impressed. I think from a film perspective, I'm such a big fan of what these guys pull off with in 36 hours to write, shoot, and edit something and the quality they do. And it really showed through in his ability to pivot this Cameo video.
The first time I watched it, I will say that all I did was sit and pretend that the SEC Shorts crew actually just watched our show. I know that's not true, and I know that there are 68 million white guy podcasts of middle-aged hosts. You could randomly pick this one. I decided about 30 seconds in, he must be a fan of the show.
Well, he definitely caught our vibe. So for everybody else, here it is. Here is Josh Snead's cameo, my gift to Andy for Christmas.
Well, Andy, your co-host Jim thinks you're a real scumbag. That's right. He hired me to make a video insulting you just for being an Aggie fan. And honestly, it would be pretty easy. You go to a very weird school. There's a lot of weird stuff happening there. But I don't want to focus on that right now. I want to focus on the fact that Jim is a Longhorn fan, and he thought this would be a great time to make fun of you for being an A&M fan. I mean, he should be holding back on the insults and really focusing on the Cheez-Its Bowl right now. Don't you think? I mean, this is a big-time deal for them, considering the season they had. Good news is, Cheez-Its Bowl does have a trophy. It's not like the Pop-Tart situation where they just, put your coach in a Pop-Tart machine or a Pop-Tart eats another Pop-Tart. I'm not sure what's happening with the Pop-Tart Bowl, I guess is what I'm trying to say here. The Cheez-It Bowl gives you a trophy and not just, a bunch of Cheez-Its, which is a good deal. Because Texas can now put that trophy in the space they had reserved for Arch's Heisman. There should be plenty of space, right? Man, I'm blown away. I'm blown away that he would think this is okay. And to bring the Astros into this? He wanted me to make fun of the Astros as well. I mean, I was born an Astros fan, raised in Houston. I still have my Jose Cruz rookie card. Craig Biggio was my hero for a long time. So I'm not going there either, pal, buddy. I guess, and how am I supposed to make fun of Texas A&M? Their coach is fully pregnant with a baby. He could deliver at any time. So is that what you want? You want me to make fun of an expecting father right before he delivers his baby? I'm not going to do that either. So you know what, Andy? I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you've chosen to surround yourself with someone like Jim. I think new year, new you. You start over fresh with a new co-host. Jim, if you could just be kind and pass this along to Andy, that would be great. Thanks, guys. Oh, and Texas is going to be fine. They have all the money they need, a great coach, and I'm pretty sure you just signed all the best players from the recruiting class. So I hate your guts.
Okay, so I will like to point out, obviously they are not part of Ballpark Nation. SEC Shorts is their thing. If you're not watching them, you should. And I know that we have a lot of people watching the show that are watching the show kind of from my film world, and just from and we talk about this all the time, the quality that they put together in the short turnaround. In my career, I never did like 48-hour film festivals, film competitions, because I always felt like, why do something in 48 hours? It should take you a long time because it's hard. What they're able to pull off is completely impressive from a filmmaking perspective. And I thought it was a delight. And I think it just showed you how smart of a writer he is, because he completely took my premise, of which I guess I should have pointed out I was sincere about the Astros World Series wish, because I too want one. I mean, I don't know. What were your thoughts?
I will echo that anybody who's not watching SEC shorts should be watching SEC shorts if you're a fan of college sports, football, comedy at all, because even their worst videos are better than 99% of the direct that's on YouTube, and that's their primary distribution channel. I was very impressed that he was able to keep that together for 2.5 minutes, because whatever he may have scribbled out ahead of time, it very, very much came across that he was speaking, from the heart, off the top of his head. I appreciate his concern for Mike Elko's weight gain, or weight carrying, as it may be. But yeah, and the fact that he's, not a fan of the Texas Longhorns and their built-in success is, it's heartwarming. It's heartwarming.
But just let him know, Craig Biggio also was my hero growing up. Again, I was so tickled when it just happened to come across my Twitter, and I thought, I know exactly what I'm doing for Andy for Christmas. All right, Andy. Look, we could have a very Aggie-centered celebratory show on Monday. I'm excited. I think,
or this could just be a black box over here.
I really don't think so. I think you're going to go 2 for 2, and I think that national championship.
Kentucky's tough.
Kentucky's another one of the. I mean, that's the thing. If you think about what A&M's volleyball season has been like, you beat Texas in the regular season, you beat Nebraska, you beat Kentucky. You really will have killed all the Dragons if you win this thing.
Well, I mean, Pitt was a number 1 seed as well last night, so we've knocked out 2 number 1 seeds. If I could for a moment, not that I'm a giant SEC fan, because I don't really love the way the conference treats some of its members. Because if you're not in Alabama, there's a reason that conference is headquartered in Birmingham. The NCAA dramatically underrated the SEC's volleyball programs this year. There's no world where A&M should have been a 3 seed in this tournament, and they were. And the proof will be in the pudding on Sunday, but very clearly, I'd be pretty pissed off if they were in my bracket as a seed where they shouldn't have been.
Yeah. Well, I think good things are ahead. There's a vibe going on with that team, and regardless of the outcome, like you said, this is a really big step forward for Texas A&M volleyball. I believe that, and I do think you're going to get the win on Saturday.
And if we do win, I really hope that Aggie Land Outfitters can put together a shirt that doesn't look like a 12-year-old made it, because they have some of the worst merch. Their in-house stuff is just horrible.
Yeah, we obviously have our share of bad merch too, and
I will say this: the University Co-op puts out their fair share of stuff, and most of it is pretty high quality. And even the game day shirts where you get the cartoon of, Bevo running over whoever they're playing that week are pretty well done. I get the feeling that whoever runs that part for Aggie Land Outfitters literally got MS Paint 10 years ago and decided, I'm skilled. I'm a skilled artist, so I'm going to put these together. I mean, I kind of think they have a clip art book that they cut things out of and paste on a graph paper and then scan it in. It's bad.
Yeah. I mean,
and that brings me to my Christmas wish that Adidas would put out some of the sideline stuff for the fans.
Well, that to me, that's the big swing. When you told me that a lot of the blackout stuff, for example, is not sold to fans, like
anything you see. And not that he's the best model physically, but anything you see Mike Elko wear on the sidelines, you can't buy.
And that to me, I don't understand in 2025 when we're all merch obsessed, what a big swing and a miss that is.
How many of us just sit on a couch, see something they like, whip out their phone or their iPad and order it right then and there? I can't do that.
Yeah. I mean, I have my biggest example of that was I have that burnt orange, that black hoodie with burnt orange font that says Texas Forever. You and I are dog people. We don't wear black at home because but I still ordered it because that shit's awesome. And you know, all right. Well, that will wrap us up. Jim's Moving Picture Show has its Christmas Carol episode out, so check that out on Monday. In addition to all of the wonderful Aggie talk we're going to have, we're also going to be looking at a montage and discussing mine and Andy's favorite Saturday Night Live Christmas sketches. You're not going to want to miss that. We're going to be working a lot more.
We don't do pre-work on this show, and this show is this episode will now be 3 weeks in the making. So
yeah, I've been editing my little patootie off and then discovering some that I've never even seen before. By the way, I must tell you, one of the choices you had, I'll tell you which one it is when we watch on Monday. I'd never seen that sketch before, and thank you for bringing it into my life.
Not a problem.
All right, this has been Off Day. Good luck to the Aggies. Gig 'em this weekend. For Andy, I'm Jim. This has been Off Day with Ballpark Nation. Let's hand it over to Dandy Don Meredith.
Turn out the lights, the party's over. They say that all good things